The 1920s brought a seismic shift to Hollywood. Not only had this once tiny town ringed by orange groves turned into a bustling city, but the balance of power had shifted as well. Studio executives like myself, Carl Laemmle, and William Fox once ran Hollywood. But now the stars were in control. Mary Pickford, the most famous woman in the world and the core talent of my studio, Paramount Pictures, had left me. She joined forces with fellow superstars Douglas Fairbanks and Charlie Chaplin to form their own studio, United Artists. They quickly established themselves as the studio of the stars. But all that star power would soon bring disgrace to Hollywood and threaten to destroy the entire movie industry.
Yeah, we've waited for our time to come, calculated everything we've done, we've upgraded. Now you can't outrun a champion. Now you're facing what? We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky, gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights for the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight, hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high for the glory. We do it for the glory.
You want to know how beloved these movie stars were? Well, let's look up Mary Pickford. Now that she was in full control of her career, she divorced her estranged husband, Owen Moore, and 6 days later, married Douglas Fairbanks. As their wedding made front-page news across the country, the famous couple set off on a honeymoon across Europe. I mean, talk about Hollywood royalty. The golden couple was mobbed everywhere they went. They brought London to a standstill. Not even the British royalty could do that.
Now, America's sweetheart and Hollywood's most dashing hero are just Mary and Doug, world's most wonderful man and wife.
Pickford and Fairbanks had the whole world hanging on their every move. Back at Paramount, it wasn't going so well.
It's not bad. It's just average.
The movies I was making after Mary left were good, but they were not good enough.
I think it needs time to build an audience.
If I can't sell it, then we don't have time.
My entire business model had fallen apart. Without a huge star like Mary Pickford, I'd lost the only leverage I had to force the theater chains to show Paramount films. And then I got a crazy idea. There was only one way I could ensure that my films got shown. I needed to own the theaters. But to buy a massive chain of theaters, I needed millions. And there was only one place to get that sort of cash. Wall Street. Now, up until now, Wall Street bankers had been hesitant to invest in the movie industry. It was still so new, so volatile, and overly competitive. But with movies more popular than ever, I thought the time was right to make my pitch.
So, there will be 3 divisions. Paramount Pictures, Paramount Distribution, And the final piece of the jigsaw? Paramount Theaters.
That guy I'm pitching to is Otto Kahn, one of the most powerful bankers on Wall Street.
We'll be a vertically integrated industry. We'll make the movies, we'll sell the movies, and we'll show the movies in 600 theaters.
The way I saw it, the film business could be just like the oil or the steel industry. If you owned every part of the business, production, distribution, and exhibition, there were millions to make. I already had the first two. A chain of theaters would get me the third.
I'm gonna need $10 million.
It worked. Carl loaned me the cash, and I went on a spending spree, and soon was building or buying over 300 theaters across the country. Now I had control of the entire supply chain. It was a practice that would come to be known as the studio system. I was suddenly a big player in town, but I wanted to get even bigger. And so I set my sights on William Fox. Fox was a brilliant showman, and he'd made a small fortune giving audiences what they wanted. Classy theaters and stars with sex appeal. His studio was smaller than Paramount, but it was profitable. The perfect addition to my budding empire.
I'd like to buy Fox.
What do you mean?
I'd like to buy your company. Fox Features and Fox Distribution. And those theaters in New York, if you still have them.
If I... The other night, I was at the premiere of my latest feature, The Lure of Ambition. Do you know who was sitting next to me?
No.
The Prince of Wales. The Prince of Wales. At a Fox premiere.
I misread him, and that was a screw-up. Because the only thing our little talk did was motivate Fox to expand. He went to Wall Street and borrowed a ton of money, and set his sights on growing the Fox empire. I'd set off a kind of chain reaction. Because over at Universal, Laemmle did the same. You know, his studio was still bigger than Paramount, but we were closing the gap, and he was getting nervous. And so he borrowed money to expand too. The studios were all in a massive arms race, borrowing heavily to stay ahead of each other. What could go wrong? You see, Universal was now a colossus, too big for Laemmle to control productions and run the business. So he created several senior executive positions and gave them to family relatives. The trouble was, many were clueless.
Is Albert there? Put him on. How are you, Albert? Good. Yeah, I do have a little problem. Why is every feature that makes it on screen way over budget?
The only nepotism that did work was giving the son of his wife's best friend the job of being his assistant. Now that kid's name, Irving Thalberg.
I don't see what the problem is. It's not like I'm asking the League of Nations to end world poverty.
I have noticed a few problems.
Go on.
Well, first up, when you're not here, your orders are forgotten, and everyone does as they please. But I suspect that happens when you are here, too. There are several people who have jobs but are simply not up to the mark. I mean, they have no idea what they should be doing. And those that know what they're doing act as if they're running their own personal fiefdom. So there's little communication with other departments. In general, the studio is in disarray. It's chaos. It's incredible that any features get made at all.
I see. So what would you recommend?
I think there should be one person in charge. Someone who has responsibility of supervising the day-to-day operations and coordinating the different film productions. And everyone should report to that person.
I agree. I'd like you to be that person.
You want me to be the studio manager?
To be Universal's head of production. Yes.
Thalberg was only 20. Now, most people would worry that it was too much too soon. But Thalberg was a man in a hurry. You see, he had a weak heart, and the doctors had told him that he'd be dead by 30. He had less than 10 years to make his mark. Thalberg hit the ground running. He not only restructured the whole studio, he tackled the notorious director Erich von Stroheim, whose movie about adultery, Foolish Wives, was $1 million over budget. Thalberg marched up to him on set and told him, "This is your last day, you're done." Then Thalberg supervised the edit and turned the movie into Universal's biggest box office hit to date. As Universal, Fox, and Paramount grew our empires exponentially, United Artists felt pressure to keep up.
So to buy one theater in every major city, we're talking about a cost of $5 million. We have 2 theaters in New York. We have 3 theaters in LA. I think we can forget about Salt Lake.
Even United Artists, with all its stars, couldn't afford to be left behind in the race to buy theaters.
Okay, and if we agree to terms based on a return of 20%, then will that be payable through the end of the first year?
Mary was now doing more business than acting.
Can I see that, please? Thank you.
Running the studio wasn't so much fun anymore. But Mary was determined to stay in the game, as were the Warner Brothers.
Okay. All right.
After they'd had a taste of success with their war feature, My 4 Years in Germany, they thought they could be players. The trouble was, they were still gambling everything on one feature at a time. Sometimes a hit, sometimes a flop. Like a roulette player throwing everything on number 13. Then Jack happened to go to the theater to see something new. A serial. A series of short movies that went out weekly called The Perils of Pauline. The producers figured out a smart way of getting audiences to return each week. They ended each episode with Pauline, the heroine, in some life-threatening situation, like being left hanging from a cliff. And that's where we get the term, cliffhanger. Now, the Warner studio happened to be next to a zoo, so Jack's idea was to use it as a location for their own serial.
It's called The Lost City. A place in the middle of the jungle somewhere that an explorer finds. But he's got this beautiful assistant who keeps getting trapped, and he has to go rescue her. So in the first week, Zula's cornered by lions.
Zula? That's her name?
Yeah, that's her name.
What, as in zoo?
Yeah, as in zoo. Anyway, where was I? So Zula escapes, but then she's chased by a lion. No, we'll do a bear. The point is, she keeps escaping. She keeps getting saved.
If it sounded like a harebrained idea, that's because it was.
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazingly, Harry gave Jack the go-ahead. He filmed in the summer, which meant the animals spent most of their time asleep because of the heat. So in desperation, Jack had actors play some of the animal roles. The Lost City was a disaster. And the Warner Brothers lost everything.
Okay, well, now I need a favor. When have I ever not paid on time?
The Warners were on the verge of bankruptcy. And the only people willing to lend them money were loan sharks.
40%. You could take that and you can ram it where the sun don't shine. Son of a bitch.
Easy, Tiger. What?
Get him out of here before I kill him.
I could almost feel sorry for the Warners. Just as they seemed to get moving, they'd shoot themselves in the foot. But while the Warners were failing, I was riding high. I had more theaters than anyone and had money to burn. What I didn't have were stars.
This is Mary Miles Minter. She's 19. She's been acting since the age of 12, and she's been in nearly 40 pictures.
Looks like Mary Pickford.
She could be the next Mary Pickford.
Who's she with now?
The American Film Company, but her contract is up.
We should sign her.
She could be expensive. Everyone wants her.
Do whatever it takes. Just get her.
I wasn't gonna let another star like Mary Pickford get away. The name of the game was to sign top talent and then make sure they were happy. If Mary Miles Minter was the next Mary Pickford, then Roscoe Arbuckle, known to millions as Fatty Arbuckle, was the next Charlie Chaplin. Arbuckle was a family favorite. He could take a fall and then be up and running. I bid higher than anyone else and signed him up for $3 million, which made him the highest paid actor in Hollywood. I now had 2 breakout stars on my roster, so I quickly put them to work to get my money's worth. I paired Mary Miles Minter with Paramount's top director, William Desmond Taylor. And I started Arbuckle on a hectic schedule of pictures. I had no idea that these stars would end up bringing Hollywood to the edge of collapse. It all started around Labor Day. After a particularly grueling stretch of filming, Fatty Arbuckle took a break, and drove up to San Francisco to unwind at a friend's party. There he met a young actress named Virginia Rapp. She came to Hollywood like a lot of hopefuls and was just waiting for a big break. But she'd never get it. At some point during the party, she was rushed to the hospital, where she later died. The police charged Arbuckle with her murder. Unfortunately for Arbuckle, that was just the beginning. Through some tip-off, the story found its way to a newspaper mogul, one William Randolph Hearst. Hearst was a would-be movie mogul himself, and for him, scandal was manna from heaven. So when he heard about Arbuckle, he sent a pack of reporters out, and they soon picked up the scent of blood. Nobody really knew what happened in that room, so Hearst's reporters made it up. They said the party was a wild orgy, and Arbuckle was a sex monster who leapt on top of her and crushed her. And that was the tame version. Thanks to Hearst, in the court of public opinion, Arbuckle was guilty. As for Paramount, Arbuckle was my biggest star. I had $3 million tied up in him, and he was sitting in jail. And just as I was figuring this out, I found myself in an even bigger nightmare.
Hello? Did you call the police? Don't. I'll be right there.
Someone had heard a gunshot go off at the home of William Desmond Taylor, the director that I'd paired with Mary Miles Minter. Although if rumors were true, they had more than a professional relationship, and Taylor had been trying to call it off. Look, Mary told me she didn't do it. She loved him, and I believed her. I had no idea who killed him, and I didn't want to know. All I was thinking was that I couldn't deal with another scandal. But I guess I didn't do a good enough job, as Mary Miles Minter became one of several suspects in Taylor's death. Apparently, the director was quite the Lothario and had been carrying on relationships with a number of actresses. Now I had another scandal on my hands, and things were starting to get out of control. The rest of America was starting to look at Hollywood as some kind of sex-crazed murder capital. Reports were even coming out that actors were getting addicted to a drug they called joy powder. Or, as we know it, cocaine. Some religious folks were even saying that the movies themselves were poisoning the minds of young Americans and must be stopped. Protests were held in front of movie theaters, and all of a sudden there was an angry mob descending on Hollywood.
No, I don't know of any satanic worship or any sacrifices.
I was spending my whole day fielding calls from politicians, do-gooders, all wanting to know if the rumors were true.
No, that was just a moving picture.
Everything we built was about to come crashing down.
Hello?
It's Carl Laemmle. We need to talk.
Okay.
We have protesters outside our theaters. Box office returns are down by 1/2, and now I hear stories that there's a mob coming to burn Hollywood. How did we get to this? I have to take some of the blame here. I created the star, and in doing so, I created a monster.
Audiences want to see stars. They're the guarantee.
No, not if the picture's good enough. These stars get paid too much. They think they could do anything. They're out of control. Do you watch baseball?
No. Why?
Two years ago, the World Series was fixed. And nobody could trust the game anymore. So the owners brought in someone from the outside, a czar, to clean up the game.
And did he?
Well, they introduced some rules. But what really mattered is it gave the perception that something was being done. And by the next year, attendance was back to normal.
So you think we should bring on a movie czar?
Yes. Someone the public trusts to clean up Hollywood.
So that's what happened. We bought ourselves a czar. Will Hayes, an ex-postmaster general and a bigwig in the Republican Party. Not only that, he was a Bible thumper from the Midwest and had the power to call off the mob. But there was one more thing.
You have to clean up your own house. Those stars that caused this, they have to go.
The timing couldn't have been worse. You see, while all this was going on, the Fatty Arbuckle case went to trial. And remarkably, Fatty was cleared of all charges. It came out that Virginia Rapp had a bunch of pre-existing injuries that likely led to her death. Fatty Arbuckle was a free man. But in Hollywood, that means nothing. The damage had already been done. I told Fatty to take a little break. But the truth was that Arbuckle would never make another film at Paramount again. And all those features he'd made for me would never be seen. In fact, most of his earlier films would be banned for years. His career would never recover. And it would be the same with Mary Miles Minter.
Sorry, I had other meetings.
It's me who should be sorry.
Water under the bridge.
That's a relief.
So I've been thinking about next steps. No, I'm good, thank you. It's probably best if you take a vacation. Do you have somewhere to go?
My mother and I have a quiet place in Santa Monica.
Good. Well, I best get going.
Well, Mary knew what I was saying. Her career was over, and she would never appear on screen again. She was 21. Once I let go of my problem stars, our movie czar, Will Hayes, went to work and started cleaning up the movies. The Hayes Code. Things like actors had to keep 1 foot on the ground in romantic scenes, as 2 feet off the ground meant sex. So the public thought Hollywood was like how it appeared on screen, clean. But it wasn't. The sex and drugs continued, you just never heard about them. Things went back to how they were and the cash rolled in more than ever. But after Fatty Arbuckle and Mary Minter, I was done buying stars for millions, only to watch them burst into flames. So I decided to create my own stars. Now, that guy there was an Italian immigrant. He barely spoke any English. During the day, he was a waiter, and by night it was rumored he slept with wealthy women. But he had a hunch that one day he would be discovered.
He's got a good look. Who is he?
Rudolph Valentino. So far, he's only had a small part in a film.
Can he act?
Maybe. We can always try him out.
So we gave him the lead in a movie, lit the fuse, and boom, he became the biggest star ever. You see, all that time, we'd been missing a certain type of actor. The heartthrob, the matinee idol, and Valentino fit the bill. With Valentino, I'd kicked open a door to a new generation. People coming to Hollywood waiting to be discovered. It was like a lottery. Be nobody one day and 6 months later, be richer than your wildest dreams. But more than that, you could be famous, loved, even worshipped. Hollywood had become a magnet for dreamers from all around the world. And the town was now flooded with new arrivals. So many people were moving to Hollywood that the population was nearly doubling every 3 years. And by 1921, the town itself was overcrowded. So developers looked to the steep hills around the city to build more housing. One real estate investor erected a huge sign across the face of one of the hills to advertise the new community he called Hollywoodland. The sign remains on that hill to this day. Well, most of it. All of this is to say that with more and more people moving into town every day, there was no shortage of potential stars for us to choose from. And once we found someone with promise, we signed them up. But this time, we made sure we could control them. I encouraged them to talk to the press, but there was a difference. The studio controlled what was said and what was reported. And they all had to sign morality clauses in their contracts. we kept them all on a tight rein. Our publicity departments covered up scandals, and detectives were even used to investigate the private lives of stars. Any sign of a scandal, and they were deemed unsafe and their career was over. It might sound harsh, but that was the deal. The process became known as the star system, and every studio in town did the same. The studios that had stars, that is. Carl Laemmle was still reeling from the scandals that had plagued Hollywood, and he attributed it to overpaid stars and excessive budgets. So he was constantly trying to rein in overly ambitious projects at Universal, which put him at odds with his second-in-command, Irving Thalberg.
Paris in the 15th century. The Notre Dame Cathedral Square is bustling with market sellers, circus entertainers, and a gypsy dancer, Esmeralda, said to be the most beautiful woman in all of France. One look from her, and you're bewitched. All the townspeople are spellbound. And looking down on this is a hideous demon who lusts after her. He hides up in the bell tower. He is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It was Thalberg's latest pitch, a big movie that could launch a big star and keep Universal competitive.
Sounds expensive. Does it have to be Paris in the 15th century?
Laemmle reluctantly gave Thalberg the go-ahead with one condition: no stars. Thalberg managed to find a decent actor, Lon Chaney, who accepted a low fee. And guess what? The movie made him a star. The Hunchback of Notre Dame was Universal's biggest moneymaker to date. But there wasn't one word of thanks from Laemmle.
Congratulations. That was the best picture I've ever seen.
Thank you.
My name is Mayer. Louis B. Mayer.
Ever since he'd arrived in Hollywood, Mayer had had solid growth, making a few films with his in-house star Anita Stewart. But no big hits. Now Mayer wanted to be a major player, and he decided that Thalberg was the key.
I need wardrobe. This is where we make most of the productions. That skinny thing over there is Norma Shearer. Good actress. She could be a Mary Pickford in time. Have you seen her remake of Tess in the Storm Country yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you must. I've seen it 3 times.
All right, can we roll camera, please?
You know, my company may be small in output compared to Universal or Paramount, but we have big ambitions. You'll look after the creative side, and I'll look after the business side. And the two of us will build something special. We will have the best production studio in Hollywood with more stars than the sky at night. What do you think?
Well, it sounds promising.
Good. What is Laemmle paying you?
$400 a week.
So I'll pay you $500.
And just like that, Louis B. Mayer snatched up arguably the most talented executive in Hollywood. It didn't matter that he was only 23. It was a massive loss to Laemmle's Universal and a massive gain for Mayer. Mayer's little studio was immediately on the rise. he could still only afford to make a few pictures each year, while Paramount was making over 50. But with Thalberg in charge, every single Mayer film was a box office hit. And people were starting to take notice.
I met with Marcus Lowe yesterday.
As in Lowe Theaters?
The same.
Remember my old partner, Marcus Lowe? You know, the guy who didn't want to make features with me?
Who's gonna sit still and watch a 2-hour picture?
Well, in the years since, he built a massive chain of movie theaters, which had given him a lot of power over the studios. But when the studios started buying up theater chains, the balance of power tipped, and Lowe had wanted to tip it back by buying up studios.
Is Lowe in Hollywood?
Only for a few days. He's on a buying spree. He wants to create his own studio, something as big as Paramount. He wants to buy production companies, and he's offered to buy mine.
You're not gonna sell, are you?
I am.
Why? I thought your company was everything to you.
It is. Lowe still wants me to continue to run the company. And not only that, he wants me to run 2 other companies, Metro Pictures and Goldwyn Pictures. I told Lowe I would only want the job if Thalberg was head of production. Otherwise, no deal.
And
he agreed, of course.
So what are you gonna name the new studio?
Metro, Goldwyn, and Mayer. MGM. Has a nice ring to it.
Mayer went to see Metro and Goldwyn. He was impressed. They were huge companies, much bigger than his. And he loved the Goldwyn Lion so much, he decided to keep it as a logo. But then he found out that Goldwyn was in deep financial trouble. Goldwyn had an epic movie in production called Ben-Hur, which was having a lot of problems. Ben-Hur was $1 million over budget and had nothing to show for it. So Thalberg went to work. He fired the director, hired his own choice, and personally rewrote the script. Thalberg turned a disaster into the highest grossing movie up to that point. Mayer didn't own anything, but he was now in charge of one of the top 3 studios. MGM was bigger than Fox. Louis B. Mayer had arrived. But the Warner Brothers were still waiting at the station. Jack Warner had yet another crazy idea. He wanted to buy the rights to a book about a dog adopted by wolves who then rescues a fur trapper.
Okay, I get it. I'm just still not interested. Look, animals don't work. You've already proven that.
This will be different. It's based on a best-selling book, like 4 Years in Germany. Plus, we don't need a lot of animals. We just need a dog.
So find me a dog and we'll talk.
Amazingly, Jack found a performing dog. Smartest dog ever and a born actor. His name was Rin Tin Tin. Audiences loved the dog, and the movie was a huge and unexpected hit. Jack followed it up with another and another. The sequel was born.
So you're coming down to Hollywood? Sure. You could buy me lunch.
I know. That dog gets more fan mail than Mary Pickford. Can you believe it? I know he's smart, but he ain't gonna be writing back in a hurry.
Sure, Sam was probably a little jealous of Jack's achievement, but one thing was certain. The Warner Brothers finally had their very own star. A star that never complained or asked for money. So the cash was pouring in, and now the banks were calling and being nice to them for a change. And Jack was a golden boy. So what did Harry do with all this money? Well, first they moved out of Poverty Row into a much nicer place with nice offices. But then Harry surprised everyone by buying a radio station, one that broadcast in LA. I know, crazy, right? But there was a kind of logic. You see, in the mid-1920s, radio was a new medium that had taken off so much that it was becoming the place to advertise movies. Now, Harry was annoyed at the extortionate amounts he was paying radio stations to advertise his movies. So he decided to buy his own. Its call letters were KFWB, which the Warners said meant keep fighting Warner Brothers.
To us.
To us.
We're gonna be making a lot more features from now on. And I want Jack to run the studio.
I thought we'd do it together.
Well, I need you to run this radio station. There's a lot of technical things, and frankly, you're the only one of us who actually understands all that. Look, once it's up and running, you can help Jack.
Help Jack. Help my younger brother, Jack.
Hey, we're family. It doesn't matter who does what. We stick together. That's what counts.
So, Sam Warner found himself running a radio station. This was probably like being demoted to the mailroom. I mean, he was the one who pushed his brothers into the film business in the first place, and he was the one who was most passionate about movies.
Hello?
One day, his radio engineers called him.
Well, what do you mean?
Because they wanted to show him something they'd been working on.
What is this, a screen test? Some kind of joke or something?
Cheese. Cheese crisps. Cheese crisps. Cheese crisps. Come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band. Come on in here, come on in here. It's the best band of the land. Is that enough?
I need a phone.
As the Warners struggled to find their place in Hollywood,
You stole my producer.
But if they come over here, it's because they don't like it over at Warner's.
a technological breakthrough was about to shake the industry to its core.
Actors talking? It's gonna change the movie industry.
Nobody wants to hear actors talk.
Forge new rivalries.
This track running along the side of the film contains the sound, so it can be perfectly synchronized with the picture, unlike that Warner Brothers attempt.
That's brilliant.
And tear families apart.
How do you feel about coming to Paramount?
Sam, we're brothers. We stick together.
I made up my mind.
I've never been so insulted in my life.